Keep trying.
Could be a little louder. Up more. There we go. Okay, so you got to. All right. So thanks everyone for coming. My name is Todd Evans. I'm a part-time instructor here at BCC. I just wanted to make a couple of announcements before I introduce Richard Wolff. Richard will be speaking twice tomorrow in the Bay Area. If you're interested, he'll be speaking at noon at Chabot Community College in Hayward in the Little Theater. Chabot is located at 25555 Hesperian Boulevard. And then he'll be speaking in the evening at the UC Berkeley campus at 7 p.m. in Evans Hall, room 71. And both events are free. And also, there's a table out in the atrium for the Against Cuts group. If you're interested in organizing against the state budget cuts, please stop by the table. So the cuts to education funding are just one way that all of us are being forced to pay for an economic crisis that none of us created. The legislature's analyst office has told us to expect budget deficits in California of between $18 and $20 billion every year for the next 5 years, at least. And the politicians are saying to expect continuing budget cuts and deeper budget cuts into the future. And the cuts that have already happened have been devastating for all levels of education. Within California's community college system, over 250,000 students this year alone will be turned away due to cuts to classes. At the beginning of the semester here at BCC, we already saw what that looks like, with students being turned away from full classes, students having to sit on the floor, students standing in the hallway while their teachers give lectures. The City College of San Francisco has announced that they're eliminating their entire summer school session this year, which means that the summer school classes in the Peralta district are going to become even more impacted. And the situation in the fall will be even worse, according to proposals out there. One proposal is to raise the per unit tuition fee to $40 per unit, and that would represent a 100% fee increase in 1 year. So this spring semester, the fee increase went up to $26, and that was an increase of $6 from last semester. And at BCC, we're being told to plan for cuts of at least 10% cuts to classes. EOPS and CalWorks programs will all face additional cuts, which means that low-income and working students will find it even more difficult to attend college. The psychiatric services here at BCC have already been eliminated altogether. So, to fight back against these attacks, which are going to continue, we not only need to organize ourselves and rely on ourselves, but we need to understand the situation that we're facing. And unfortunately, a lot of the perspectives that were given in the mainstream press about the nature of this economic crisis are very limited. Most of them describe this as a crisis, a financial crisis, that is the result of greed and the lack of regulation over the banks, and that it can be fixed and prevented in the future if we just regulate the banks a little bit better next time and replace the greedy bankers with bankers who are a little bit nicer. So tonight's talk has been organized to give us an opportunity to hear an analysis that is different from the one that we usually hear, and that can give us a deeper understanding of this economic crisis. Richard Wolff is a professor of economics emeritus, or was at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where he taught economics from 1973 to 2008. He is currently a visiting professor in the graduate program in international affairs of the New School University in New York City. He is the author of Capitalism Hits the Fan, which is on sale out in the atrium, and numerous other books and articles on topics in economics. So please welcome Richard Wolff.
Thank you, first of all. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, first of all, for coming. Thank you for inviting me. I have to say a few things to get us going, just to protect myself. Some of what you're about to hear is going to get you upset, even more than what you just heard. It should be enough. And so I want to please ask you to remember, I'm just reporting on it. I'm not the one responsible for it. So if you find yourself getting angry, don't get angry at me. Thank you. The second thing is, I'm going to try to make this interesting and exciting in the way that learning anything that's important in your life can be interesting and exciting. But I somehow don't want ever to lose sight of the very hard reality that Todd so eloquently just took you through. All across the United States, these kinds of cuts are either already happening or are being contemplated. In almost every state. A little bit later tonight, I'm going to tell you, in case you don't know about it, about the remarkable thing that was done just north of here in the state of Oregon, who are handling the situation radically differently. Radically differently from just about all the other of our 50 states. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by trying to explain briefly but clearly what happened, why we are in this situation. When I'm done, I'm going to turn to what is being done to try to deal with it. What Bush did briefly and what Obama is doing. And why it isn't working. And why there's no prospect that it will. And what needs to be done given that situation is how I'll end. So hopefully an explanation of how we're in it, what's being done or not, and what ought to be at least on the table for us to consider. All right, so let's begin then with what is also done in the DVD that's out there in the back. If you're interested, I think some of you may have seen it, so bear with me if I go over a little of that again. This is the second major economic collapse in the last 75 years in this country. It's very important that you understand that. This is not new. This is not unheard of. This is the second time in 75 years that the capitalist system of this country collapsed, stopped functioning. In the 1930s, this is the last time it happened before this one, just to recall for those of you whose history might be just a touch rusty. The collapse begins in October of 1929. How long did it last? Well, it got bad quickly. Between 1929 and 1933, unemployment went crazy. In 1933, unemployment was 25%, as per the government statistics. That's 2.5 times what it is now. The president at that time, Franklin Roosevelt, tried to do all the things that Bush and Obama had done, plus a few, and I'm going to come back to those later. They did not work. They tried it. It didn't work. How long did the Depression, which is what it was called then, how long did it last? 10 years. From 1929 to 1939. Some people even push it a little later to 1940-41. That's how long it took to get the people who became unemployed after 1929 finally back to work. I say this because I want you to understand the notion that we can get in and out of this quickly, in only a matter of months, is just a guess. And for those of you who think, well, maybe long ones only happened long ago, I'll give you another example. In 1990, the second most important capitalist economy in the world experienced a collapse, Japan. And they're still in it. It's 20 years long. So the notion that these necessarily are short, not so. And you know what finally got us out of the Great Depression? It wasn't the economic policies of President Roosevelt. He tried them all, didn't do it. What got us out of the Great Depression was World War II. We basically, as a nation, solved the problem this way. We took half the unemployed people and put them in a uniform. And we took the other half of the unemployed people and gave them jobs producing the uniforms, the guns, the ships, and the planes needed to fight that war. The economic policies then didn't work. The same ones being used now. And if you think, well, maybe it's okay, we have a collapse every 75 years,